All right, aloha friends. Brian Goss with GM Sports Media. Another episode of Game Time with the Goss, powered by Great Wolf Promotions. Today, my guest is none other than my partner in crime, Kenny Matthews, the Chocolate Bear, Friday Night Glory, and now Inside High School Sports contributor. You can catch him talking about football recruitment every Sunday morning, 10 a.m. on Channel 5. Kenny, welcome back to the show.
Oh, what's happening, my dear friend, man? Nice to see you again on this format. Did show number one, and what is this? And what's the number now?
This is probably like 1:15, so we've been it's been a while.
Nice work, buddy.
But it's always good to have you on. That means it's either softball or football time, and in this case, it's week one of the Texas high school football season. We're all excited for it, and let's dive into some of the games that you're covering and some of the teams you're looking forward to watching this season. Then Friday night, you got a pretty good one in Dallas Jesuit and Hebron. Earlier, I had on Matt Diggs, who you will be doing a lot of stuff for on Inside High School Sports. And Jesuit was kind of on his list in week one. He just wanted to see kind of where they're at, what kind of type of team Jesuit is coming out of 7-6A. What's your takeaway from these two teams in this game?
I always say this about Coach Hickman's team at Jesuit. He gets the most out of less year after year after year after year. I mean, they have the lowest enrollment, obviously, being a private school. The thing about Jesuit is that they don't beat themselves. Now, over the years, they've been a high octane offense and haven't been able to stop people from scoring too. So you've had a lot of 58, 56 ball games over the years. But I expect this to be a very competitive game because they're playing against a very good Hebron team. A lot of people are, picking maybe Hebron to maybe try to compete for a district title this year. I may not be going there just yet, but I do think that they'll be, in the playoffs this year if Hebron just stays healthy, stays the court. I think they will be one of the four teams that go in the playoffs. I expect this game also to be one of those things where Coach Hickman is going to pull out what he always does when your talent level is a little bit lower, you're always seeing to pull out a surprise. So it wouldn't surprise me if you saw an opening kick, onside kick, something of that nature, double halfback pass. But I do think know one thing is that they got some guys returning on defense, Jesuit. I think that they're going to try to play to their strengths there and try to keep some of these games, in the 30s, not the 40s and 50s.
Awesome. And then just to mention, you are going to cover Plano and Odessa Permian
Yes.
at the Star on Saturday. Again, I kind of talked to Professor Diggs about that one. He's kind of excited about it. Sort of, they've kind of fallen back on some hard times lately, but these are two storied programs, Plano and Permian, especially back in the 80s and 90s. And so should be a good one for you guys, Friday Night Glory and Inside High School Sports special. Moving along, I know you so well. One of the things you'll do on Friday night is keeping an eye out. Whatever game you're covering, you still got the phone, you got the scores up. What are some of the other games that you'll be watching there here in week one?
Well, I think that like tomorrow, I mean, best game I think is the Forney and Hunt Collins game. That's the battle of the running backs. You got the Notre Dame commit Javian Osborne for Forney going up against the Christian Rhodes kid that's going to SMU for Lake Collins. I got to cover the Lake Collins and Flower Mountain game last year, and he actually got hurt in that game. But this is a long frame guy that's really got some high end, top end speed. I think that the swinging factor maybe is that Forney has Nelson Peterson coming back to quarterback. I think last year when Coach Fleener moved up, there was high expectations for them to compete. Just thought that transition would be seamless last year. I really don't. I think that I think really caught them a little bit. I think the expectations really were not reality, I should say. I think that now that they've kind of established, they kind of been there, done that now. I expect a big year out of Forney. I expect them to win that district here maybe this year. So it'll be interesting to see that game. I also think the Austin Westlake and Prosper game down by Waco is going to be a really good game. I mean, obviously the runner-up in Westlake last year's state champion. They played in this game last year. Prosper had some turnovers in the beginning of that game that kind of set them back. The quarterback for Prosper, Imhoff, is back for them. Also, They got one of the best offensive lines in the state. They got Zamden Crinden, they got Bryce Gilmore. Now they took a huge loss at defensive tackle when Jake Johnson broke his foot. He's going to be out for the year, and he's a USC commit. That's going to be a big hole for them to have to try to fill on that defensive side. One name you need to kind of remember, he's been injured a lot the last couple of years, but even Dave's Campbell's magazine mentioned him as probably being a contributor this year, is defensive back Tyson Stiggers. He's been hurt. He's getting some Ivy League schools looking at him right now, but he's a big factor. He can be a swing guy. He can play free safety. He can play corner. He can play in the slot. So I expect Prosper to have bad taste in their mouth getting beat by Coppell in the first round last year when a high expectations for them to go deep in the playoffs last year. I think you kind of eat that in the offseason. So I expect that to be, one of their kind of, rally cries going in next year. Watch out for Reese Wise for Westlake, the quarterback. He's returning back. He had a heck of a year last year. And on defense, I love this guy's name, the defensive line for Westlake, Maddox Flint. I think it's a great name for a defensive guy. He comes back with 70 tackles from last year on the defensive end. There's another game that I kind of like also is Rockwall Heath and Highland Park. I like this game because I think it's going to be an up and down game like it always is. Obviously, Highland Park maybe has one of the best duos in the state with Brock Randall throwing to Cannon Bosman. I mean, I think that Bosman kid is really, really, really underrated. I think he's been flying under the radar for the last couple of years. Not sure why. All he does is make big plays. I mean, he got Highland Park to the state championship game last year. I expect that to be a really fun game. And then the last one, I think you probably have already talked a little bit, is a little Geyer and Alito. I mean, that's the mainstay game, obviously. Who's going to be the quarter? Is Alito going to get good enough quarterback play to get back to Jerry's world? Isn't that the biggest question?
Every season it is, right? You mentioned Prosper, and I know you talked a lot about them on Inside High School Sports, and I'm sure you've talked about Salt Lake too. Um,
Yes.
aren't they? They probably have the best offensive lines around, don't they?
Yes, I mean South Lake. I mean, name a better dual tackles than Luke Wilson and Tristan Dare. Tristan Dare going to Michigan, Luke Wilson going to Oklahoma, and they're just 2027 guys. I mean, so I mean that's not bad to know that you got these guys for the next 2 years. Remember when South Lake this group was young 2 years ago? Everybody kept saying, "Oh, this group is young. They're going to take their lumps." Well, it's about time for them to start dishing out lumps now. I think South Lake Carroll is going to do that. And if you think about it, with Brody Knowles and Brock Boyd, with Davis Penn, I mean, that is a loaded offensive group. If they get just, slightly a better than average play on the defensive side, I think there's nothing's going to stop South Lake Carroll from not getting back to Jerry's world.
Yeah, I would like to see that matchup in the playoffs, perhaps Salt Lake Carroll and Prosper, and just kind of,
It'd be
you
fun.
know, it'd probably be a lot of yards in that one for sure.
We call that an ice pack game. That would be fun.
Talking with Kenny Matthews, Friday Night Glory and Inside High School Sports. I've already asked Matt Diggs and Mark Henry this. You look at the state champions from last year, I'll just name some: North Crowley, Vandergrift, Richmond Randall, Smithson Valley, Cartridge, Salina, Gunner, Columbus. If you had to pick one today, who do you pick to most likely go back to Jerry's World and repeat?
It's easy for me. The Salina Bobcats. That's the one I think is going to get back. Anytime you bring back Bo Bentley, the reigning MVP of the state finals last year, he had a tremendous summer on the recruiting circuit in the camps and the Elite 11. I think he finished third in that this year, with the top 11 quarterbacks in the country. He's got Logan Gutierrez, at running back returning, and he had over 30 TDs. You have all-world tight end and Wyatt Villarillo back. Now they do lose a lot. I think they graduated 34 seniors, I believe that's what it was. So that's a lot of championship pedigree you have to replace. I do love the Luke. I hope I'm saying his last name right. Biana Jenny, the linebacker for them. He's a returning stud back for them. I just think that it'll take a couple. I think it'll take a few weeks for them to get the experience they want to go back there. But I really think that they are really set up to repeat. Now, I will say this. You're going to get some you're gonna get a Kilgore team that I think is really good and stacked ready to go. Now I know Kilgore got killed in the championship game last year. I understand that. I think Stephenville will be one of the teams you need to look out for there that could get in the way. I also think we need to really think about is Frisco Panther Creek. They may have the best skill position guys in the state of Texas and on the 4A level. And, you could put those guys up in 5, 6A college. I don't care. They can play on the skill position side. So I think that there could be some pitfalls for them, but I really think Salina's got the best shot. And don't worry, I did say a very close Carthage. I think Carthage also is very close to being one of those repeat. I know they're a little out of our area, so that was probably another reason why I didn't pick them. But when you got Jet Surratt, you got KD Edwards, and you got the Kamanian Henderson at wide receiver, those guys can play on anybody's level. And how can you ever bet against Coach Surratt? I mean, how can you ever go against him? It just seems like the football season starts, and 17 weeks later, he's hoisting another trophy over his head. So, but Pleasant Grove will give them a very good shot this year. Watch for Pleasant Grove. I think Coach Gibson's got those guys prime and ready to knock off Carthage.
Yeah, I feel like whoever comes out of that Salina district is going to be battle tested because you mentioned Panther Creek. You can't forget Aubrey, who's been very good the last couple of years. So definitely one of the tougher 4A districts in the state.
Well, think about that. You probably play your toughest games until you get to the round 3 or 4 in your own district. So that tells you how strong it is that you have to play after Thanksgiving before you play somebody as tough as your next door neighbor.
And then I want to get some surprise teams, some dark horses. They don't necessarily have to get to state or win state, but maybe 2 or 3 rounds deep, contend for a district championship, maybe an upset or two. Who are those teams you're looking at that could shock the media world?
Well, we kind of talked off camera. I'm going to go with 4A Sunnyvale Raiders. They were 9-4 last year. They returned 7 on offense, 7 on defense. Junior quarterback Casey Mopin. Wow, he returns. I mean, the guy over 3,000 yards passing, 461 rushing, he had 41 TDs through the air, 6 through on the ground. He may be the most underrated, underappreciated quarterback in the state of Texas. He returns. I love the Drew Gardner kid that worked both sides, the wide receiver and safety. He had 6 receiving TDs last year. He had 119 tackles at the safety position last year with 6 INTs. I think they are primed to make a run and get past the third run here. And I always thought when you bring back offensive linemen and you bring back defensive linemen with a experienced quarterback that's high end, those are the kind of teams that you like to take a shot at trying to make a deep run into the playoffs. And I think Sunnyvale may be the guy that's just a little bit underneath the surface right now. But come after Thanksgiving, I think we'll be talking about the Raiders for sure. And I guess you said another team that I was looking at, and this is really not an under the radar team. I kind of feel bad about that. But the reason I'm saying this now is that Lone Star's been knocking on the door for a long time, Frisco Lone Star, knocking on the door to try to get back to Jerry World. It's been 11 years since they've been back there now when Jason Shelley was the quarterback for them. They have every weapon imaginable to them. Now, I know we found out somebody may have a key injury that may miss some time for Lone Star, but anytime that you could put the MVP of their district, Carice Hoyt, and make him an athlete and not a quarterback anymore, that tells you about how talented that team is because super sophomore Trey White, the number 1 dual quarterback in 2028, he's going to be the starter this year. So, I mean, with him, Ryder Mix at tight end, with Davian Gross at wide receiver, running back, wherever you want to put him, Superman. I don't know. I mean, they are absolute. And even on the defensive side, you got the Jordan Deck kid who's going to Texas Tech. Got the defensive lineman Chris Knowles, and you got the linebacker Nico Viveros. I mean, they're an absolute team. Now, granted they're inexperienced in the trenches, so they're going to have to try to get some experience there. I think their district allowed them to do that to get them better too. I mean, besides, Wakeland and Reedy, they're going to run through their district. So, but anyway, I think Jeff Rayburn has his best shot to finally get back to Jerry World with the it seems like they've been knocking on the door for about a decade now, and I think this could be the year for them.
Yeah, got to talk to our buddy Mike Leslie earlier, and he's covering the Lone Star Argyle game here in week one. You can catch that play-by-play live streaming on WFAA Plus alongside Heckman Harrison, his color man. But yeah, we kind of said Carice Hoyt, he was very good last year as a sophomore, right? And now he's sort of turned into this hybrid Travis Hunter type. So it'll be
It's
interesting to see how he handles that at the 5A level.
it's just an embarrassment of riches that you can take a guy that had over 40 TD passes, 1,500 yards rushing, and 14 rushing TDs last year, and say, "All right, we're going to let the sophomore take over at quarterback now, and we're just going to get you the ball out in space." And then, oh, by the way, the Florida commit Davian Gross over here, all world guy. Yeah, I don't think he's going to see any double teams. So yeah, it's pretty good, man.
Again, you can watch that on WFAA. Also, got to give a shout out to our guy Mike Alexander.
Yes,
He is helping out, coming up with this documentary series on Victory Plus is one of the platforms. He will be following Frisco Lone Star all season long. I believe it's called The Lone Star Way, and so go check that out every week. The first episode comes out September 2nd. So excited to see all that.
I am too. Mike Alexander does a great job with that. I mean, he's been a friend of ours, obviously, for a few years now, so it's going to be good. It's going to be good, man. I'm looking forward to that for sure.
All right, mentioned it earlier in the show, but I'll let you get the red carpet. Just what are you working on so far? Anything exciting coming up? And then where can we follow you guys on social media?
Well, as most people know, I work with FridayNightGlory.com, and I'm starting this series where I call Kitty's Corners, when I'm going to be interviewing athletes on a personal basis, just kind of a more of a relaxed, just at breeze. And so my next person I'm going to do is the Newman Smith quarterback Axel Leftron. I'm going to do him next week after their second game. Newman Smith has the bye week, the third week this year. Looking forward to that because here's a guy that, last year got hurt right before the playoffs. He ripped up his knee in week 10 last year. So kind of set Newman Smith back going into the playoffs against who was that? I think it was Reedy last year. But anyway, I'm going to do that. So I'll be on available on FridayNightGlory.com. You can get me on X at Kenny, capital K, Matthews with two T's, capital M. You can always catch me there. You can catch me on X at FridayNightGlory.com, obviously. And then, as we said before, you can always catch me on Inside High School Sports on Channel 5 on 10 a.m. on Sunday mornings. If that's too early for you, if you're at church, just tape it. You can see the ball dome coming on towards the end of the game, talking recruiting. It's been fun. Also, I do want to mention this. Inside High School Sports is going to go to a year-round show now. So now when the spring sports come, track, baseball and softball, we will be doing shows during that time. So I'm really excited about that because, we hated that last year none of the spring sports got any kind of attention from, with Channel 8 not doing their show any longer, and we stopped our show after basketball state last year. So we're really excited about that. Waterburger ponied up the money, so we said, what the heck? So have a Waterburger on us and think about Inside High School Sports and catch the smiling dome as he talks football recruiting. And guess what? He's talking volleyball recruiting too.
And I gotta mention this because Diggs brought it up. Um,
Oh, yeah.
you, Diggs, you and Ward doing a Friday night show after the games. I believe 11:30, right?
Yes, we did a rough draft last week. It was fun. I mean, we had 10 seconds to spare, I think, so it was not bad. But anything that Matt Diggs is probably, puts his mind to, and especially now with I think that guy's lost his mind now with AI. But he really has. He already was a little there, but he's definitely there now. But yeah, it was really fun. So I'm looking forward to doing that every Friday night. And as we said before, people that can drop scores in my Twitter account, in my X account account, let us know on that. But yeah, we'll try to touch every Metroplex score in 30 minutes. So it'll be a challenge, but it was a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that too.
All right, Kenny, my friend, Chocolate Bear, always good to talk to you. Love your insight and looking forward to this season, buddy.
Pleasure to be on. Like I said, I was honored to be on the first one. I'm ready to be on episode 200 now. So let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, that's Kenny Matthews. You can catch him Friday Night Glory and Inside High School Sports. Again, he's kicking off week one here on Thursday night. He'll be watching Keller Fossil Ridge and the Colony, so be sure to follow him across all social media platforms. And then again, Friday night when the games are done, catch him with Inside High School Sports with Ward and Matt Diggs as they try to get through every score in the DFW Metroplex. So looking forward to that. All right, that'll do it for another episode of Game Time with the Goss, powered by Grey Wolf Promotions. Hey, it's the season going, so might as well get your merchandise gear and t-shirts. Check them out at greywolfpromotions.com. No one better. And so next time, check us out at gmsportsmedia.com and enjoy the football season, week one, and we'll see you next time. Aloha.